Oh, you know how nostalgia can sometimes deceive your memories? Let's face it, people. In the gaming world, there are games that still holds up as time progresses, and there are games that just don't. It's the same thing with films, pretty much. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to talk about what games that I thought still holds up well to this day, and some of them that just don't. First of all, I'm going to start out with Wolfenstein 3D. It was a lot of fun when I first played it. I loved how funny it was too when you kill the Nazis, you know, my layman. It was also a fast-paced shooter, so that definitely hooked my attention. And all of that stuff still holds up to my feelings towards this game. But I do feel like the level design, the limited content, and the range of enemies just don't really hold up that well. Man, this game's level design is pretty much castles upon castles, and the textures are just not much different too, so you really start to feel like every level is almost the same from one another. The enemies are really not much different to each other, even though it is fun to kill them, but when you compare it to Doom and Quake, it just cannot compete. The weapons are very limited too. You only have 4 weapons in this game, and the first 2 weapons, they pretty much suck. But the last 2 are the only ones that's worth using, and you're pretty much just stuck using those 2 weapons, unlike Halo, where it forces you to have only 2 weapons, but there are multiple weapons that could work efficiently well for your advantages. So yeah, I feel like Wolf 3D, it was fun when I first played it, but I just don't think it holds up quite well compared to the other id games like Quake 2. Quake 2 still looks pretty in terms of environments, and I love the skybox. I've always felt like, you know, some of them are really good despite the aged graphics. Quake 2's, you know, music is still awesome to listen, no doubt in that. And yeah, there's not much else I can really talk bad about the game, because the game in general holds up extremely well. It's better than Quake 1, because the problem with that game was the limited theme for the maps. It was pretty much brown castles after brown castles after brown tech bases and more brown tech bases. It pretty much went the same direction that Wolf 3D was in, but with better environments, essentially. Even though I will admit it was really cool to have a FPS game with a medieval themed setting, because I believe Quake 1 was really the first FPS that done that, and I hope we can see some more of that in the future, but there definitely needs to be some improvements from the first Quake game, because the first Quake game, like I said, the limited map themes, that wasn't really fun. You know, I hate feeling when I play this game a long time ago, and then I come back to it and I realized it doesn't age well. It kind of shows you that the developer didn't really put much focus on creating the quote-unquote best game ever. Because let's face it, people, a lot of gamers that I notice when they label their all-time favorite games, it's generally the ones that holds up very well, like Half-Life or Ocarina of Time. I do think it's very important for developers to focus on this aspect, because it's really a feature that separates an amazing game from a great game. There's a reason why I love a lot of the older id Software games, because they hold up so well compared to like Bungie's Marathon series, where it does have some issues with holding up to their Halo games. And to be honest, I do believe that's some of the reason why I love id Software so much back in the older days. They really tried to make games that was awesome for their time, but as time goes on, it would still be that awesome game you've played years ago. I don't think this, you know, will be a problem for the more modern games. I see a lot of features of what developers are trying to do to really make players want to come back and play and still have that same enjoyment that they had years ago. For example, I still think Resistance Fall of Man is still a cool FPS game with old school and modern twist to it, and even though COD 4 is very simple compared to the, you know, newer COD games, I still love the simplicity of it. Like, I don't have to worry about all these kill streaks that can totally change up the battlefield, and it makes COD 4 a more run and gun driven experience in a way which I really like. So yeah, tell me what games you guys think still holds up that you grew up playing, and the ones that just doesn't.